He sat on the bench for decades, ruining black families with racist sentences. But when the tapes leaked, the tables turned, and the judge faced justice for the first time. Family, before we step into this story of injustice and resistance, I need you to pause for one moment. These stories are not just entertainment. They are mirrors of the struggles too many face in silence. If you believe in shining light on injustice, if you believe in giving voice to the unheard, subscribe now to Wealth and Wounds. Together, we don't just listen, we fight. In the quiet southern town of Oakridge, everyone knew the name Judge Henry Whitlock. On the surface, he was respected, silver-haired, stern, sitting on the bench for more than 20 years. But for black families, his courtroom wasn't a place of justice. It was a trap. If you were black, you got the maximum sentence. If you were white, you got a second chance. People whispered it in barbershops, murmured it in churches, but no one dared to say it out loud. Because Judge Whitlock wasn't just powerful. He was untouchable. That changed when Marcus Greene walked into Whitlock's courtroom. Marcus was only 19, a community college student, caught driving a borrowed car with a broken taillight. The officer claimed he smelled marijuana. Marcus insisted there was none. No drugs were found, no alcohol, no weapons. Just a boy on his way home from a friend's house. But when Marcus stood before Judge Whitlock, the old man's eyes narrowed. Another troublemaker, he muttered loud enough for the court to hear. The prosecutor pushed for 12 months of probation. Whitlock slammed his gavel and spat out a sentence of 2 years in county jail. Gasps filled the room. Even the prosecutor looked stunned. But Whitlock didn't care. He leaned back in his chair with a smirk. For Marcus, that was the moment his faith in the system shattered. Outside the courthouse, Marcus's mother, Janet Greene, broke down in tears. She wasn't just crying for her son. She was crying for the dozens of families she had sat beside over the years, all of them victims of Whitlock's cruelty. But that day, something inside Janet snapped. She swore that Whitlock's reign of terror would not continue. She swore she would fight back, even if it meant taking on the entire system. Janet began talking to other families. Slowly, stories came pouring in. A black father sentenced to 15 years for shoplifting groceries, while a white man who stole thousands walked free with probation. A teenage girl branded a delinquent and locked away for skipping school. Young men railroaded into plea deals because they were threatened with decades in prison. All under Judge Whitlock. Janet compiled every name, every date, every detail. But she needed more than stories. She needed proof. That proof came from an unlikely place, an intern named Daniel, who had once worked in Whitlock's chambers. Daniel reached out to Janet in secret. I don't agree with what he does, and I've got recordings. Janet's heart pounded as she listened to them. On one tape, Whitlock laughed with a colleague. These boys don't belong in society. Lock him up. It's the only way they learn. On another, he dismissed the public defender's plea. Don't waste my time. He's guilty because I said so. And the worst, Whitlock openly admitted. You let one of them off easy, and the whole lot of them think they can walk all over you. Not in my courtroom. Janet's hands shook. This wasn't rumor anymore. This was evidence. She contacted Leah Johnson, a young black journalist who ran a small online paper. At first, Leah hesitated. Exposing a judge could ruin her career. But when she heard the recordings, she leaned forward with fire in her eyes. This isn't just a story, Leah said. This is a war crime against our community. Together, they planned to leak the evidence. But Whitlock wasn't going to go down quietly. Somehow, Whitlock caught wind of whispers against him. Suddenly, Janet's house was under surveillance. Her phone line clicked with strange noises. Marcus, from inside jail, told her guards were harassing him, saying, "Your mama should keep her mouth shut. Judges don't like noisy families." One night, a brick smashed through Janet's window with a note attached. "Stop before you bury your son deeper." But Janet only grew stronger. They want to scare me? They don't know who they're dealing with. Finally, Leah published the recordings. The headline hit every phone in Oakridge. Leaked audio exposes Judge Whitlock's racist sentencing bias. The town exploded. Some refused to believe it. Others said, "We knew it all along." Civil rights groups marched on the courthouse. News vans lined the streets. Whitlock, red-faced and furious, denied everything. These recordings are fake. Lies from criminals trying to tarnish my record. But the damage was done. For the first time, his power cracked. The state's Judicial Review Board launched an investigation. Reporters dug through case after case. Every injustice piled higher, painting a damning picture. Inside his cell, Marcus heard other inmates whispering, hope flickering for the first time. If Whitlock falls, maybe we all get another shot. Janet watched with pride as her son's suffering sparked a movement. For once, the powerful were being dragged into the light. Weeks later, Whitlock himself had to face a disciplinary hearing. For decades, he sat above others in judgment. Now he sat at the defense table, sweating under the cameras. Janet was in the front row. She never blinked, never looked away. One by one, families testified. A mother sobbing about her son's stolen youth. A man describing years wasted behind bars for a petty crime. Each story cut deeper. And then, Leah played the recordings for the whole chamber. Whitlock's own voice echoed through the room. His words hung heavy. He's guilty because I said so. Silence. Then outrage. Reporters scribbled furiously. For the first time in his career, Judge Whitlock had no gavel to save him. The board ruled to suspend Whitlock pending a full trial. Cheers erupted outside the courthouse. Families hugged. Strangers cried. Janet held Leah's hand. We did it, she whispered. Marcus's case was reopened. Lawyers promised he would walk free. For a moment, justice felt real. But the war wasn't over. That night, Janet came home to find her front door ajar. Inside, the house was ransacked. Drawers pulled out, furniture overturned. Her laptop was gone, the one with all the case files. On her kitchen table sat a single sheet of paper. You thought one judge was the problem. You have no idea how deep this goes. Janet froze. Her fight with Whitlock was just the beginning. Behind him was something bigger, something darker. And now, they knew her name. Janet Greene stood frozen in her kitchen. The wreckage of her home surrounded her. Papers torn, drawers overturned, and her laptop stolen. But it wasn't the missing files that chilled her to the bone. It was the note. You thought one judge was the problem. You have no idea how deep this goes. Her son Marcus was still locked in jail, awaiting his case review. If someone was willing to break into her home, what else were they willing to do? The next morning, as Janet left for work, she noticed something strange. A black SUV sat idling across the street. Dark windows. No license plate. She clutched her keys tighter. The engine hummed, and when she pulled out, the SUV followed, slow, deliberate. Janet's heart raced. She pulled into a crowded grocery store parking lot. The SUV drove past, but not before she caught a glimpse of the driver. A man in a suit, wearing a smirk that said, "We're watching you." This wasn't paranoia. It was intimidation. Janet rushed to see Leah Johnson, the journalist who had published the recordings. They broke into my home, Janet said, shaking. They know about me. Leah's face went pale. I was afraid of this. Janet, Whitlock was just the face of it. Behind him is the Judicial Brotherhood, a network of judges, lawyers, and politicians who protect each other. You expose one, they all come for you. Janet slumped into the chair. Then what chance do we have? Leah leaned forward. The same chance we had before, the truth. But we need more. We need names, money trails, favors. Proof that this isn't just Whitlock. It's the system. That night, Janet visited Marcus in jail. He looked tired, his eyes hollow from weeks behind bars. But when she told him about the break-in, his jaw tightened. They're scared, Ma, Marcus said. That means you hit a nerve. Don't stop now. Janet shook her head. Marcus, they're threatening us. They could hurt you. Ma, Marcus said softly. They've already hurt me. If you don't fight, they'll keep doing this to every kid who looks like me. You have to keep going. His words broke something inside her. Marcus wasn't just her son anymore. He was a symbol. A week later, Janet received an anonymous envelope in the mail. Inside were photocopies of financial records. Whitlock receiving consulting fees from private prison companies. And at the bottom, scribbled in pen, follow the money. A friend. Janet immediately showed Leah. This proves it. They weren't just sentencing kids out of bias. They were profiting from it. Leah's eyes burned. This isn't just corruption. This is slavery with a new name. Armed with the documents, Leah pitched the story to a national news network. They hesitated. Going after one judge was safe. Going after the entire system? That was dangerous. But Leah refused to back down. She went live on her small online channel. Families of Oakridge, listen closely. Judge Whitlock was never alone. We have evidence linking him to a wider network of corruption, where justice is sold and black lives are traded for profit. Within hours, the video went viral. Thousands of shares, thousands of comments. And within 24 hours, Leah's channel was mysteriously shut down. That night, Janet received a phone call from an unknown number. "You don't know who you're messing with," a voice growled. "Drop this, or Marcus doesn't walk out alive." Janet's blood ran cold. She sat in silence, gripping the phone. "Did you hear me?" the voice said. Janet whispered back. "And did you hear us?" "We're not stopping." She hung up. Her hands trembled, but her resolve hardened. Days later, Leah introduced Janet to someone unexpected, Judge Elaine Carter, one of the few black judges in the state. Carter lowered her voice. "You're right. Whitlock wasn't alone. I've seen the files, the backroom deals. I stayed silent because I thought I couldn't change it. But you've started something I can't ignore anymore." Janet's eyes welled. "Will you help us?" Carter nodded. "I'll risk my career if it means saving your son and stopping this system." For the first time, Janet felt she wasn't fighting alone. With Carter's testimony, Leah prepared a second wave of evidence. Bigger, stronger, undeniable. National outlets finally picked it up. Civil rights lawyers flooded into Oakridge. Marcus's case was fast-tracked. A new judge reviewed his file and declared his conviction unjust. Marcus was freed. Tears streamed down Janet's face as she embraced her son outside the courthouse. Cameras flashed. The community cheered. For a moment, it felt like victory. As Marcus stepped back into the sunlight, a black SUV screeched to a stop across the street. A man in a suit leaned out the window, pointing directly at Janet and Marcus. He mouthed the words, "This isn't over." Then the SUV sped away. Janet clutched her son's hand. The crowd still cheered, but her stomach churned, because she knew the truth. Whitlock was gone, but the machine that protected him was still running. And now, she and Marcus had painted a target on their backs. That night, as Janet tucked Marcus in a home, her phone buzzed. A new message. It was a video file. She opened it. The grainy footage showed Marcus, inside jail, sleeping on his bunk. A guard slipped into the cell, holding a syringe. The video cut off before anything happened. Then a message flashed on screen. "Freedom comes with a cost. Do you really want to keep playing?" Janet dropped the phone. Her son was free now, but how long before they came again? The battle was only beginning. Family. Janet thought she had won when Marcus walked free. But as you can see, freedom was just the bait for a bigger trap. Subscribe today to Wealth and Wounds, because in part 2, the fight goes higher, the enemies get bolder, and the danger becomes life or death. What do you think? Should Janet back down to protect Marcus, or fight harder to expose the whole system? Comment below. Like this video if you believe in standing for justice. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to Wealth and Wounds for part 2.